What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Trail Tidbits of Volquest.com mini recruiting podcast every single week with Matt Ray. I am Eric Kane, and some guys on campus the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the Georgia game had a lot of players on campus. Tennessee, of course, away this week, and then it has the bye week, and then at home against Arkansas. So it'll start heating up a little bit in terms of visitors in the next couple of weeks. But take a look at some guys that are performing really well right now. Some targets in the class of 2027. Let's start in the defensive backfield, Matt, and let's go to a top 5 national player in Joshua Dobson.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was a huge weekend for the Georgia weekend. But anytime you have a number 1 player in the country at any position on campus that you want, especially at a premium position like cornerback, in my opinion, I mean, man, you have to take full advantage of that. And I think Tennessee did a really good job with Joshua Dobson this week. Obviously, it wasn't that big game feel. It wasn't, a shootout against Georgia like all these other guys got to see, or a field storming experience like Alabama in the past. But I think he had a really good time. I think he had a really genuine trip to Knoxville this past weekend. And I wrote in the War Room on Friday, it felt like Tennessee needed to put their best foot forward to stay in this race. Well, number one, I feel like Tennessee put their best foot forward, but I also feel like I might have been just a little bit wrong in that. I think Tennessee's very much in this race. Now, it's a heavy hitters race. It's going to be one that you've got to keep your foot pushed to the gas. But I think Tennessee made an impression for Dobson last fall when he was here for the Alabama game, getting him back over the summer. He was here. He spent a lot of time around this staff, and he hears from this staff routinely. He's a guy that really fits the mold of what they like at cornerback. Long, athletic, plays really well in space. But for me, this visit and where Tennessee made the most strides kind of came down to 2 things: building the relationships. There weren't a lot of other recruits on campus. He got a lot of attention from Tim Banks, Willie Martinez, Josh Heupel, the support staff. And then 2, the on-the-field piece. I think that's a big factor for him, obviously, when you're talking about a guy that's a number 1 cornerback in the class. And he understands that there's development at Tennessee. When you look at it, he's seen Ricky Gibson and Jermod McCoy play at a really high level. What they did last year, especially what Jermod McCoy did last year against Alabama, and Ryan Williams, who was as hot as any receiver in the country at that point in time. Yeah. He saw that firsthand. Jermod is a projected first-round pick. Ricky, obviously a guy that's played a lot of meaningful football for Tennessee in the SEC and that they're missing right now. Colton Hood, who has come in and developed and turned into a really nice player in the secondary. So he sees the development line there at the cornerback position. But then he also this weekend saw Ty Redmond get the start as a freshman. Now, albeit because of injury, Ty Redmond was still out on the field. He's been a starter for multiple games. He's logged almost as many snaps as any Tennessee defender this season. And I think that has continued to stand out with Josh Dobson, and the fact that when you look over the last couple of years here, guys have played relatively early in their career in that secondary. I don't think it gets talked about enough. I think sometimes kind of gets mentioned that older guys play, but I mean, if you look, Jermod McCoy, Ricky Gibson, Boo Carter, we're seeing Caleb Beasley work in more this year. We're seeing Sidney Walton work in more this year. Starting to be more of a trend of younger guys getting some run in Tennessee secondary as they get more talented there. So a lot of those things starting to line up for Josh Dobson, but I think Tennessee had a really good visit. I wouldn't be surprised to see him back for a big game. I don't think that there's anything on paper for that currently, but I think Tennessee is continuing to recruit him in a way. It's close enough to home there where he's at in South Carolina that he could easily slip over here for a night game or a bigger game type atmosphere, and it would not surprise me at all.
One of the best in the country, regardless of any position, top player in his position in the country. One to be on the lookout for, Joshua Dobson, for sure. Let's flip over from cornerback to wide receiver. Not only one of the best players in the States, but in my opinion, one of the best players, probably top, industry rankings has him as a top 10 receiver, as Kesean Bowman. He decommitted from Oregon. Currently uncommitted right now, and of course he's from Brentwood Academy, and he knows a lot about Tennessee. Tennessee knows a lot about him. I don't want to use AP terminology here and say that this is trending because I don't know, but it does feel like Tennessee is certainly the leader in the clubhouse right now, right?
I think Tennessee has the momentum right now, right?
Okay.
I think Tennessee has been very, very consistent in the way that they've recruited him. I think he committed to Oregon early, kind of caught some by surprise, and it happens. Look, guys, these visit highs happen. Saw it happen with Tristan Keys. I mean, I think Tristan Keys surprised me as much as kind of anybody given the timing of that, because I thought Tennessee had done everything to probably be the one to get that commitment if it was coming to that time. And LSU got him. Kesean Bowman committed to Oregon kind of in similar fashion, and Tennessee just refuses to go away. He's made it clear that he's going to take some visits. He visited Ohio State earlier in the year. He been to Tennessee 2 weekends in a row, with that decommitment sandwiched in between those weekends. But I think the relationships are there. And then I think just seeing what Tennessee has told him in terms of the offensive fit, I think that's really, really continued to work in his mind. I think he's seen what Chris Brazel's done. He's seen the downfield shots. He likes that style of play. He's a guy that's used to taking the top off of it. He's got really good ball skills and body control down the field. He likes that, and Tennessee has put that on full display in front of him 2 weeks in a row with Chris Brazel, 4 touchdowns in a 2-week span. But there's a lot of relationships for him around Knoxville. He's comfortable with guys there. He's comfortable with guys in the receiver room. He's comfortable with George McIntyre, who's thrown him the football in the past. And then, I think you look at Kelsey Pope and Josh Heupel and the way that they've made him a priority and continued to recruit him. He's been to Tennessee. This visit marked double-digit times that he's been to Tennessee.
Wow.
Now he's a guy that, again, he's a big-time football player. You see it right there. He can take the top off of a defense. He can open it up. He's got another gear, and he can absolutely go. But he's going to take some visits. The Ohio States, the Texases, the Alabamas, those schools are going to try to get him on campus. We'll see what things look like towards this fall, but he's a guy that's got a good head on his shoulders. His dad, a high school wide receivers coach that played ball at a very, very high level, Division I level. So he's got a good support system around him, and he's going to, make an informed decision as he goes through this process. But Tennessee's certainly picked up momentum as the fall's got going, and they're going to keep building on it. I would expect him back multiple times in Knoxville this fall.
Yeah, again, if you're watching on YouTube, these are his sophomore highlights. So the guy throwing the football is George McIntyre. And I'm going to go back to the very beginning of this clip. I just remember, dang it, it shifted over to the game that I wanted. The first clip, sequence here in this huddle tape is at Knoxville Catholic, and it was a Rivalry Thursday game last year. And I remember the very beginning of the game, it was George did something, then Tyreek King did something on the other end, and it was kind of back and forth. And I'll tell you, leaving that game, everybody was talking about this cat right here, Kesean Bowman. I mean, what a phenomenal player. I know he had done stuff before that game, but it kind of felt like maybe it was a TV game or whatever. It kind of felt like that was his coming out party last year, and he committed to Oregon, not shortly thereafter, but certainly a couple months after that. But I remember leaving that stadium, I'm like, I think the best football player on the field, maybe when it's all said and done, is that sophomore wide receiver from Brentwood Academy and Kesean Bowman. So interested to see kind of his path, and certainly Tennessee's going to be right there as well. Hey guys, want to tell you about our friends over at Brunt. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last, they didn't feel like they lasted, they wrecked your feet. Brunt thought, well, that's BS. So they built a tough boot with a great feel from day one, no break-in, no sore feet, because people out there doing the real work shouldn't have to choose between comfort and durability. And Brunt, they stand behind what they make. You can wear them to work, and if they're not the right thing for you, send them back. I know any other brand doing that. I don't know any other brand that's doing that, but Brunt surely does. That's a company that believes in their product. Right now, for a limited time, our listeners are going to get $10 off at Brunt when you use promo code VQ at checkout. That's $10 off Brunt when you use promo code VQ at checkout. Just head on over to Brunt, bruntworkwear.com. That is bruntworkwear.com. Use promo code VQ and you're good to go. Brunt was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So they built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. For a limited time, again, our listeners, $10 off Brunt when you use that promo code VQ at checkout. Just head on over to bruntworkwear.com, promo code VQ, and you're good to go. And after you order, they'll ask about where you heard about Brunt. Do us a favor and tell them that you heard about it from this show. Let's look to the 2026 committed class, and Tennessee's got 24 commits, obviously, and we'll see if they add another one or two. But some of these guys are starting to really ball out in their senior seasons. One of the best athletes in the country. That's Celelesi Moa doing his thing.
Yeah, I mean, already over almost 650 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns as a receiver. Playing as a defensive back, making plays, has a couple of interceptions. You can see the versatility that Tennessee talked about with him, the things that they feel like he could do. He's that guy that, in my opinion, through the last couple of classes, that really could give you some reps either side of the football, return a punt, return a kick. He's just that dynamic. It just, kind of comes that natural to him. He's got the frame right now at around 6'2", probably closer to 180 pounds right now, I would say. But to keep adding a little bit of weight and be able to play in a lot of different situations for you. I'm not going to say like a Deebo Samuel type, guy on offense, but a guy that you can move around, that you could certainly, motion, move, stack, do whatever. You could throw him out on defense for a snap or two if you needed to. Just a guy that's got a really natural nose for the football. Plays there in Utah against what's their highest level of competition, and he has really shined this fall on the field and really continued to live up to that billing of being the number 1 player in the state of Utah and the number 3 athlete in the country. And I'm just a guy that's pretty special, in that for Tennessee to be able to, as you look back at the way things have unfolded, the fact that Tennessee was able to land him, pretty big time win overall, is they only got him here for that official visit and made the most out of it.
We go from one athlete to another, from Celelesi Moa to Joel Wyatt.
Yeah, I mean, so when you look at Joel Wyatt, he transferred into Oakland this fall, and obviously they just continue to steamroll people. It's what they do. But for him, he's still playing both sides of the football, and he's still making plays. Only has 8 receptions this fall because they just don't throw the football a lot because they don't have to. Of those 8 receptions, he's over 100 yards and caught 2 touchdown passes. So 1 in every 4 passes he's taken for 6. That's a pretty good ratio. And
pretty efficient.
And then on the defensive side of the ball, a guy that's, right at the top in terms of leading them in tackles, around 30 tackles, playing all around, making plays up near the line of scrimmage, playing in the secondary, moving around, doing a lot of different things for an Oakland team that looks poised to, once again, Eric, make another really deep run. But Joel Wyatt, man, I saw him for the Georgia game. It was the first time I've seen him, and I told him again, I said, how do you keep getting bigger? He just has the frame. As he continues to fill out, there's just not many athletes at that size that can do what he does. He's going to be a really intriguing prospect at the next level. If you're Tennessee, it's a great problem to have because you can figure out when, how you want to use him based on down distance situation. He's a truly unique prospect that I was kind of surprised to see drop in the Rivals rankings, but I think as things continue to click along and he gets more tape, his senior year will have a chance to bounce back up.
And then one other one we want to highlight before we call it quits here on this episode of Trail Tidbits, another talented top 100 player in the Rivals rankings, and that is Braden Rouse, linebacker, one of my favorite guys in the class, who I think is going to make obviously on special teams. I think he can jump in that rotation when he gets here on campus, that being linebacker Braden Rouse.
Yeah, I think so too. I think just because of his ability to be a coach out there on the field, he is a coach's kid, so that that helps. But he understands the game extremely well. Still figuring out the linebacker position, and continuing to get his feet wet there. But man, when you talk about naturally athletic, I went and saw him before the Syracuse game, and it wasn't a game that they won. They got beat. Kind of got stunned early on and weren't able to really bounce back from it. But when you talk about flying around and making plays on the defensive side of the football, he could be everywhere. Felt like they had to run away from him, and he was gassed at the end of the night. But he flies around and he arrives, and you know that he's there. His closing speed is really, really nice, but the length that he brings with it, it just makes him so tough for guys on the offensive side of the football to get around, to get away from. He's got a nice ability to bend. He can play in space. He can play in the box. And then on the offensive side of the football, man, he had one of the better catches that I've seen at a high school level called back. Kind of changed the course of that game a little bit. I talked to him about that later on, a week or two later, just about how if that play would have gone their way, that game might have looked different. They, the other team drove down, scored, went up 7-0. Kell drove right back down on 3rd and like 8, 10, something like that. He's lined up at tight end. They run him on a corner route. He gets in behind the defender. Ball is overthrown. I think this one's harmlessly hitting the turf. Boom, reaches up, snags it. Really nice one-hand snag, pulls it into his body, secures it, touchdown. They call it back for PI, offensive PI on a guy that was on the other side of the football. It was a pretty ticky-tacky call, but, it is what it is. But, again, when you see those things, that body control, that ability that he has, he's just a natural athlete. And he's done some really, really nice things at Cal. The state of Georgia has a lot of good players in this cycle, and there's as much buzz around Braden Rouse as there is any prospect in the state.
All right, another weekend of Trail Tidbits, and excited to see what guys get on campus here following the away game and the bye week. And Tennessee certainly has got a couple of really nice home showcases left on the schedule, and seeing who gets over here to make a trip. So seeing what Tennessee does with the remainder of the 2026 class, and as this 27 class continues to build. We'll break it down for you right here on Trail Tidbits, Volquest.com. For Matt Ray, I'm Eric Kane. Thanks so much for joining us here. Again, this is Trail Tidbits here at Volquest.com.